Thank you all and welcome to my session, a case study, data movements and data transformation using Azure Data Factory here at Dativer. And purpose of this session is to provide you overview of Azure Data Factory and overview of how you can use data movements and transformation using Azure Data Factory and other Azure services like Azure Blob Storage, Azure SQL Server and Data Factory. So let's move into myself. I am Alpa Budhpati and I'm working as Azure consultant at Cluster Reply. Cluster Reply is very nice place to work and grow with your career. Here you can see I have my LinkedIn information as well. So if you have any query or question now or later on any day, please contact me. I will be delighted to help you on that. So let's see today's agenda. Today's agenda is divided into three main parts. In first part, I'm going to give you overview of Azure Data Factory. In second part, I'm going to show you a very simple demo of data movements and data transformation using Azure Data Factory. Also, end of the session, I will provide you the GitHub links for this repo, and also I will provide you a deployment button links. So once you click on that button, you can deploy your all Azure resources related to this demo by just clicking on one button in your portal subscription. So please stay tuned with me for that. And in third part, I'm going to give you overview of Azure DevOps for Azure Data Factory, which is a very simple overview. So let's move into first part. What is Azure Data Factory? So Azure Data Factory is a cloud-based data integration service that orchestrates and automates movements and transformation of your data. So you can see that Azure Data Factory is a PaaS service, platform as a service, and it's a serverless. So you don't need to worry about your compute infrastructure. All will be managed by cloud provider Azure. And because of these two reasons, it is only charge you if you consume the service. If you execute your pipeline or activity, then it will charge you. Otherwise, there is no any cost for execution. And it's a low code or no code solution. So you can create your workflow very quickly in Azure, using the Azure Data Factory interface. And it's a very easy and very simple as well. So let's start with this. So these are the main key component of Azure Data Factory. First one is link service. Link service is like a connection manager, like how we have in SSIS. SSIS have a connection manager, or even in any language, you have a connection string. So it is pointing to the particular data source. So for example, link service of SQL Server it has a connection string related to database and username and password. So let's move into second one, which is a dataset. Dataset is a metadata about a data. So it stores a structure of your data source. So for example, if your link service is pointing to blob storage, then your dataset is in form of file or a folder structure. But if your link service is point to a SQL server or other server like the Oracle server, database server, then here you can see that your data set in terms of the table format. So third one is activities. Activity is a particular task. So it do a particular task, for example, copy activity, who perform the copy task from one source to another source. If it's a Databricks activity, then it's help to execute our notebooks in Azure Data Factory. And if machine learning activities, then it help to execute a Azure machine learning execution in your Azure Data Factory. And there are many activities. So there are for each loop activities, and there are so many we will see in later on. So those are activities. So next one is the fourth one is pipelines. So pipelines is a logical group of your activities. So for example, in your workflow, you need to transform and load and transform your data. Then in your pipeline, you have two activities or two pipelines. One activity for move your data, and second activity for transform your data. So that will done in under one pipeline. And fifth one is triggers. So once you have a pipeline, sorry. Once you have a pipelines, and then you can trigger your pipeline in various different ways. So we will see that one later on this demo. So that one is triggered by triggers. So these are the main key components of your Azure Data Factory. There is one more which is a IR integration runtime, but I will show you later on a next slide, next to next slide. So let's move into next topic. So here is data movements. So Azure Data Factory will help you to do your data movements. So you can move your data from various data sources. So let's start with here. So you can see that you move your data from AWS, Google Cloud, or other cloud like service like IBM from one data source to another data source. You can move a on-premise system such as a SQL Server, Oracle from on-premise to a other cloud or a Azure cloud. You can move your data from system like Salesforce, CRMs to other data source. You can move a custom activity or a serverless activity or other activities like Azure Function, HTTP call or REST API data into another data source. And you can move even SFTP as well. You can move your data from SFTP location to other location, other data source in a using the Azure Data Factory. So you can use it for that copy activity or you can use a copy data tool. So they will help you to move your data from various data sources. And there are more than 100 data sources available. So you can use them as a part of your sync data source or as a part of your source data source or both of them. So here is a link which help you to move your data from one of them, and here you can find out that which data source you can use for a source or a sync or both of them. So these are the data movements in ADF. Let's move into data transformation in ADF. So for data transformation, you use a mapping data flow. And mapping data flow is the behind the scene, it's using the Azure Databricks. So you don't need to worry about language like Python, Scala or Java. You can use the mapping data flow by just a click away and you don't need to worry about any programming language. So that will help you to do your transformation. So for transformation, you can see you have a various data sources available and you can transform your data to and from these data sources. So you can see that there are around 12 data sources available. So you can transform your data from one form to another form and you can load as well. So here is a link which help you to provide information for which data source you can use for a source purpose in a data transformation mapping data flow or a sync in a mapping data flow or both of them. So let's move into what can you do in Azure Data Factory. So you can use a source control in your Azure Data Factory because each and every component you create in Azure Data Factory, behind the scene it generates a JSON code automatically for you. So you don't need to worry about at all code. And you can use a Git inbuilt integration. Sorry. And for that you can use a Azure DevOps Kit or a GitHub. I will show you later on a demo. You can monitor your pipelines or other Azure Data Factory components, and you can manage your components in a Azure Data Factory portal or UI. So also you can trigger your pipeline. Your pipeline can be triggered in various different formats. So your pipeline can be triggered based on a schedule, based on specific time. Your pipeline can be triggered based on a file created in your blob storage or file deleted from your blob storage. For example, specific file created in your blob storage, then trigger will execute your pipeline based on that trigger. And you can use a custom activity such as Azure Function, Logic Apps, PowerShell, and C# code. So this way your pipeline can be triggered. So now let's move into next topic, how data factory works. So for that, let's imagine we have a scenario, simple scenario, and that's help you to move your data from REST API to Azure SQL Server. So here you can see that our task is to move a data, and we are moving a data from REST API to Azure SQL Server. So our task is move copy activity, and our source is a REST API and our sink is a Azure SQL Server. So let's see how we can create it. So first of all, we need to define our source and sink. Once we have, then we need to create a link service for source and sink. So our source is a REST API. So we need the information of which REST API we are calling, how we are calling them using the login information or username or password, or which way we prefer. And in sink side, we have a link service for a Azure SQL Server. So here it will have information like both like which SQL database you are using and how you using login information as well. So these are the two link service which has a correct information, connection information for your source and sink. So let's move next. Next you need a data set. So source side you have a REST API data set which has a JSON data. And sink side you have a Azure SQL database which is a form of a table. So now we have a link service ready, we have a data set ready. So we need to perform a particular task or a activity. So for that we using the copy activity in our pipeline. So this copy activity will move your data from your JSON data to a SQL table format data. So it's inserting the data into your database in a table. For that, we need a now integration runtime. So here we have a integration runtime which is auto resolve, which is a default one because our source and sink are in a cloud. So here you can see that this auto integration runtime which actually perform your copy activity, and you don't need to worry about memory, IO or CPU. It will automatically manage for you without any issues. So this is the integration runtime. There are more than integration runtime available. If you have your source and sink are in a, for example, on premise, any one of them are in on premise, then you need a self-hosted integration runtime. Or if you have your source or sink, any one of them are in under private network. So based on that, you have a different integration runtime available. So let's see these all things managed under the Azure Data Factory. So Azure Data Factory can have a one pipeline, can have a more than one pipeline, and can have a more than one integration runtime. So if we compare this scenario situation with a parcel delivery system, then you can see that your Azure Data Factory is a central part of the parcel delivery service who manage the delivery, who not doing actually anything, but is manage the delivery. And your integration runtime, you can compare as the delivery man who actually perform the delivery. So this way Azure Data Factory works. So let's move into next topic, which is a quick demo tour of Azure Data Factory. So let's go to here and let's see how you create your Azure Data Factory. So it's very simple. You type here, you go to your resource and you say Data Factory. By just clicking few buttons away, you can create your Azure Data Factory. You give a suitable names, and here you just say if you want to use your Git existence repository type, then you can select here. Otherwise, you can select later on. So then you just need to click next, and it will create for you very quickly. So this way you can create your Azure Data Factory. So I have already created, so I don't need this at the moment. So let me close that. So here you can see that existence Azure Data Factory which I have already created. So this is my Azure Data Factory, and you can see that you can use any of these are the main services, and you can see here existence video or tutorials as well, which help you to guide you for how to do it, or you can use that according to your scenarios from here. So let's move into components of that. The first component is to manage. So you manage your Azure Data Factory component using a manage box here in here. So you can add or link service here. So by just clicking on the button, you can type here which connect data source you have. So for example, blob data source, continue. You can provide suitable name, integration runtime, and you can choose your uh, whatever format like you would like to have a use connection sync or Azure Key Vaults, and you just select few clicks away, and it will create for you. By just clicking on here, it will create for you your link service. I don't need that one, so I will cancel it. So this way you will create your link service. Here you can see that who are using your link service. So these are the two data sets using that link service. You can see that here code is in a JSON format. As I said, everything you create in Azure Data Factory, behind the scene they will generate JSON code for you. So that is a link service, and here you can see your integration runtime, and you can manage as well. You can add new integration runtime. This purview is help you to provide your lineage flow of your particular activity or pipeline. So it will help you to say which particular columns are coming from which file or which table for your sink or source, and vice versa. So this is to give you a very good lineage preview of your any particular task. So here you can see Git integration. So if you have already, then you can see that I have already. So it will provide you all information like your account, your repository type, your project name, and these are the very simple things. If you add that, in few clicks away, you set up your repository. You can import and export ARM template from here. You can create your triggers here by just clicking on few buttons. Like you can, here is type, schedule, storage, sorry, and custom activity as well. And you can like by clicking on few button away, you can just create your triggers, and it will perform based on whatever type you selected. You can use global parameter as well across your Azure Data Factory, and you can set that in CI/CD pipeline. And so these are the manage view. Let's go to monitor view. The monitor view help you to monitor your Azure Data Factory components. So you can monitor your pipeline and activity, and if there is any error, it will show here. So like for example, it will provide error for here for us, and you can click here and it will help you to redirect or it show you how it works and where is the issue as well. If there is a issue, it will provide you if there is a child pipeline, then it will help you to redirect as well and see how it works. So that is your pipelines monitors for pipeline. You can monitor your triggers here in a different base. You can monitor your integration runtime as well, and you can monitor debug data flow, and you can create alerts. So here you can create new alerts, which is very simple by just clicking here and selecting few criteria. For example, your pipeline executed successfully, your pipeline failed, or there is a queuing time which is above the threshold, and there are so many criteria available. So based on that criteria, it will send you an email. So here you can create alert as well by clicking here new alert rule. So that is the monitor. So now let's move into main one, which is the author, and here you can create your pipeline, data set, data flow, and Power Query view, and you can create as a template as well. So for example, by clicking a pipeline is a very simple. By just clicking here, you can give suitable name now, or you can give later on as well. You can add these are the available all activities. So you can select your activity from here. So you can see that you have these two activities for copy data, transform and movement. You have other activities like Azure Data Explorer. Here you can write down a particular query from log. You can use Azure function. You can use many things like batch, Databricks activity. These are the general activities which you have, and you have like there are so many for if condition, for loop condition. You have these as well. So these are the activities. So it's very simple, and it's just a drag and drop. You just copy here, and you in setting you set all criteria and you save it. And this is a very simple pipeline. And so if you click here, it's just debugging or running your pipeline for you. So this way you can create pipelines and you can debug as well. And see, it's done. This green sign with is executed successfully. And here you can see that your input or output as well. So that way you can create your pipeline. And you can create folders, or you can create pipeline for template as well if you already have saved template. And so that way you create your pipelines, and you create your data set by just clicking here. And this is a similar to link service. So for example, I can create my data set from a blob storage, and I can select a particular formats, and then I give suitable name, and I select existence link service, and then if I click OK, then it will create a data set for me. So that is the simple to create a Azure Data Factory components. So I already have it, so I'm just discarding them. And you can create your Power BI query using Power Query, and you can save your pipeline as a template for reusability purpose. So this way you can create your Azure Data Factory components. So you can validate them by just clicking here. So if there is any error, then it will show you that there is an error. And you can click on publish here. So it will publish your repository into a suitable, which one you selected for your which you selected for your repository, and it generate ARM templates for you, and those ARM template you can use for your CI/CD pipeline. So this is a very quick overview of your Azure Data Factory. So let's move into next demo. These are the part 2. So in part 2, we are moving a data from blob storage to a data lake gen 2 here. So I have here source file, CSV file, which using the Azure Data Factory data movement module and pipeline is this CSV file will move from blob storage to a data lake gen 2. And then after my next pipeline will run, and it will move that file. Before moving it, it do a transformation using the mapping data flow, and then it move that file into a storage Azure SQL Server. So this is my data movement, and here is a data transformation. So it's moving from blob storage to data lake gen 2 to Azure SQL Server. So here you can see that these are my resource I needed to run successfully end-to-end pipeline. I need data factory, data lakes, blob storage, SQL Server, and a Key Vault. So let's go back to a demo. So let's go to here. So this is my resource group, and you can see that in my resource group I have these resources: the 2 storage accounts and 1 SQL Server and Key Vaults and data factory. So let's start from Key Vaults. So this is my Key Vaults, and in Key Vaults I have added a secrets because I have 3 different data sources. I have a blob storage, data lake gen 2, and SQL Server. So here I have my connections in store. So if you want to know how you can add here connection string, then it's very simple. You by just clicking here, and before that you need to go to your particular data source. So for example, this is my blob storage data source. So here I can go to access key. I just copy this access key from here, connection string or access key. If your data like Gen 2, then it need a key. But for blob storage, you can use connection string, and for your SQL server also, you can use a connection string. So for that, you just copy that part and then you come back to your key vaults here, because I just created new one, just giving a suitable name. Store that key which you have copied here, and that's it, and you just create it. So this way it will create secret for you. And so I have already created here 3 different secrets similar way. So this is a connection string for blob storage, connection string for Azure Data Lake Gen 2, and this is connection string for SQL Server. So this one I'm using in my Azure Data Factory. But before that, you need to provide your Azure Data Factory for a permission to access this key vault. So for that, this is a main important thing. You have to do it first of all. Otherwise, it will give you a lot of errors. So here you need to see, this is my Azure Data Factory. Now I have given a permission for accessing a secret. How you can give? You just click here and you click for secrets, because you're providing secrets. So it will select all 7 secrets. You can remove if you don't want to give all permission, and then you select your principal here. And that is a very simple. Here you just need to search your Azure Data Factory. So this is my Azure Data Factory. You can search for your Azure Data Factory. Just select your Azure Data Factory. You select it like this way. And this is the simple. This way it give you access of your, by just adding here, it will provide access for your Azure Data Factory for that key vaults. So I already have that, so I don't need that. So let me go to here, back. So that is my key vault setting and Azure Data Factory. Now let's move into what I have in my storage account. So here, let's go to here, storage account and container. Yeah, so this is my blob storage account. In blob storage account, I have one container which is movie-in, and inside I have one file which is a movie db csv, and my file is look like this. So I have a less data because I want to run demo in execution, so that's why. So you can see that this is my data, and I would like to do some transformation as well. So for example, my address have a comma separated value here, 3 to 4 comma separated value. So I need to split them in a separate column. So like first column is address 1, address 2, address 3 and address 4. So that is my one transformation. Another transformation I'm using is I'm filtering the data. I don't need all movies, because in my file, original file, I have millions of data. So I don't want to store all data. So I am filtering them based on a year. Like which movie which is created in a Pacific year. And so I'm applying those filter as well. And then I'm using the another filter which is the aggregation. And then I'm storing into SQL Server only those information. So that is my source file here. And this is my data lake Gen 2. So my file will move based on copy activity to this area, data lake Gen 2, and then another pipeline will trigger and it will move file into this area, which I will show you later on. So these are my 2 sources, and let's move into pipeline. So here you can see that I have a pipeline for extract, transform and load. So this is a master pipeline, and this is the execute pipeline which you can just add by just clicking here. If you want to have a like parent and child pipeline, then you use this one and just say few information here, like select which pipeline you would like to involve here. So that's very simple. Let's move. So that one, and so let's see loading pipeline. So in my loading pipeline, I have used get metadata activity and for each loop activity. So metadata activity will look each and every file from my blob container and pass to for each loop, and then for each loop will copy my file from blob storage to data lake gen 2. So for that, if you would like to see what is, let's run this as well as. While it's running, I can show you settings as well. So this is my metadata activity, and you can see that here I have a data set, and my data set is using based on a specific parameter which is a spec code. And here you can see that I'm passing the spec code here as well, and I'm interested on a in. So like my folder is movie-in. So that's why I'm using here concatenation of parameters, and then I'm using that. So you can preview your data by just passing your spec code. So this is my spec code movie, and it will show that file in here. So you can see that these are the data available in that source file. So you can preview as well your data before execute anything. So this is my data set, and my data set have a parameters. These are my parameters. So that this parameter I'm using in a connection here, and whoever calling this data set, they need to pass the parameters. So here you can see that I am passing parameters because my metadata activity using that data set, and it's passing here spec code. So that one is passing from here because in pipeline also I have a spec code, and I'm passing it or I'm setting as a default one. So that way you can pass your parameter from pipeline to data source to data set. So as it's executed, sorry, let's see here output. So here you can see that this is input of my metadata activity, data source name and reference and other information. And here you can see that output of my metadata activity. So after execution of that metadata activity, it's giving me the child's item. And in child item, there is a name property, and in name property, I have a files. So at the moment, I have only one child items, but you can have many files in that container. You can get all in here. So that I'm passing into for each loop. Like by just setting here. This way I'm passing my child item to for each loop. And it's very simple. You don't need to do anything, type anything. You just select your activity, which is a metadata activity by this way. And here, as I showed you earlier, you need to use child item as well. So this is the same syntax. So let's cancel this. And inside the for each loop, now you can see that my source and sink will use iterative way items from a for each loop. So here you can see that item.name. Here also you don't need to type anything, but you just do automatically by selecting from here from for each loop item. So here your object is a JSON object. It's not an array object. It's a complex JSON object. So you need to use here property, which is a name. As I showed you, it has a file name. So that's why you need name here. Otherwise, if you're passing just array, then you don't need to worry about property. So that way you can pass your file name in a source and sink both place, and you passing container name as well. So that is very simple as well. You don't need to do anything. You just, because it's a parameter, so you select from here. That's simple. So that way you can set your source, and you can see your source data set as well here. It's a very simple way. In data set also parameterize, and it's used in here connection, and same parameter pass through source as well. Similar way in a sink as well. So this way it will perform your copy activity, and it's load your data from blob storage. This is a blob storage to a data lake gen 2. So let's close this one and let's go to bake here. So that one is my loading, and it's successfully executed as well. And here you can see how and what it done. So you can see that it's moved data from Azure Blob Storage to Azure Data Lake Gen 2. So you can see how many files they have written, and you can see if there is any queuing time or transformation time or like that. So this is my data movement pipeline. Now let's move into data transformation pipeline. So it is a mapping data flow. And here also I'm passing a parameters. So that one you just drag and drop from here. So like you can say data flow like this way, just to do that. Then you set your data flow here. I have already said, so let me delete this. So this is my mapping data flow, and here you can see how it looks. So my source file is coming from Azure Data Lake Gen 2, and here I'm applying a filters based on a specific years. Let me turn on mapping data flow because it takes around 3 to 5 minutes to turn on, because behind the scene is using a Databricks Spark cluster. So it's spinning the Spark cluster for me for our data flow. So here you can see this. You can filter. You just add filter activity by clicking on here. These are, if you are familiar with SQL Server query or SSIS, this is very simple for them. These are the all controls you can use. You can use a join, like how we join two tables. Here we joining two data sources. One can be Excel and another can be in a JSON format, or one can be in CSV or text. You can check if exist or not. You can use union, lookup. You can use a derive column to add or add a particular columns or some compute column. You can use a select for selecting a particular column rather than everything. You can use aggregate. You can use pivots and unpivot. You use window functions like how we have in SQL Server, and you can flatten your JSON data, like complex data, into a column format. And there are many things, but here two things is compulsory. You should have your source and you should have your sink. You must have your sink in order to run your data flow. So sink will store a result of your result of that transformation. So this is my first data transformation, which is a filter. I just added by just clicking here, add filter. Once you click here, it will automatically add in here in this place. So I already have it. So yeah, then I have used another uh, uh, filter, which is a derive column. So here you can see that in my this derive column, I am just using adding a new column by just clicking here. You can add new columns by just clicking here, and then when you click here, so you can select your expression. You can select from input schema, parameters, or other functions. These are the inbuilt and so powerful function you available here. You can use that. And many of them are similar to how we have in other programming language or SQL Server. So let's cancel this. So I have already here. So let's delete this. I don't need this. So here you can see that what I have used. So here what happened, as I showed you earlier, that my source file have a address and it has a comma separated value, or it can have a line break, new line in carriage return. So my address is it can be either in comma separated in last column, or it can have a line break as well. So I'm moving them into comma separated one. So what I'm saying here, if my address has a new line or a carriage return, replace that with a comma. So I can use that one in a next transformation. So in my, this is third transformation. I'm just using now that one to splitting it in address 1 to address 4 by just using split function, split, and then my old address which I have in a third state, and I'm just splitting them, and I'm assigning one address line number to address 1, other address to address 2, and like that 1 2 3 in order. So that is this transformation. And here I'm using aggregate window function as well, and that one, sorry, it's too quick. Yeah, so this aggregation function you can see setting as well here. So in setting you can see that I have a it's better I just refresh it. So in setting you can see that I have a window function. So I'm using group by, and I'm using here I'm using group by. So I'm using group by based on a year because I'm only interested into years information, that which rating came for that movie, and I'm aggregating based on a rating, and I'm using average function here. So end of this aggregation I'm only getting a two columns, and here you can see that result as well. So you can preview your data, sync data, by just clicking here, and you need to provide your information as well. I don't remember at the moment. Okay, so this is my spec code. Sorry, movie is my spec code, and I think my source file is this one. I can set default as well. We can, if we set default parameters, then we don't need to type here for that. So after that, you can see preview as well. Save, and you can refresh here. So it will. Oh, I forget here. There is one more. And you can type here space for spec code again. You click save, and it will show you here a result on the spot. So you don't need to execute that one. For that you can view each and every components here by just clicking on data preview. So while it's doing that, let's show you other properties as well. So you can see that you can have your data set in a inline or cache as well. So the cache you can use for next activity immediately. Yeah, and I have a two sync data set. You can have more than one sync data set. So you can, end of this execution, it have a two separate files stored in my data lake gen 2, and then I'm using that one in a here in pipeline. This is the main pipeline. This is a loading into blob storage to data lake gen 2. This is also the loading from data lake gen 2 and few transformation and in data lake gen 2, and here is moving a data from my source to sync, which is a SQL server. So let's execute, let's close this one because we haven't changed anything, and let's execute this as well. So these are the parameters. Yeah, so yeah, so I think it takes some time. So meanwhile, while it's executing, let's move into a remaining demo part. We will come back after some time. So here you can see that we have finished this demo, and then our third part is Azure DevOps for Azure Data Factory. So like if you want to deploy your Azure Data Factory into different environment, then what we can do. So for that we can use continuous integration and continuous delivery, or we can use a manually import and export, which I will show you later on. So here you can see that continuous integration is a best practice of testing each change made to your code automatically and as soon as possible. So this also called your build pipeline. So first you need to create your build pipeline, and then you need to do a continuous delivery. So that you can call as a release mechanism or release pipeline as well. So whatever in first step, in first this pipeline, your artifact is ready, and that one you use in your for CD continuous delivery here. So your code move from your build artifact, your build pipeline to your release pipeline in a different stage, like for dev stage to SIT or test or whichever phase you have. So this is the continuous integration and continuous delivery. So what is a CI/CD in a Azure Data Factory? So in Azure Data Factory, you need to move your data factory from one environment to another environment. And this can be done in two ways. You can manually import and export ARM template. So like you export a ARM template from your dev data factory and you will import that one in your test data factory, test environment. Then you can do manually as well, or you can use it automatically by creating your CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous delivery pipeline. So if you choose a second option, then only your dev Azure Data Factory will connect to your repository at the moment, because I think ADF team are working on this. So you can set any data factory, but at the moment you only use dev Azure Data Factory for your repository. So once you have your code is ready and published and it generate ARM templates, then your build pipeline will generate a build artifacts, and then you can deploy your code which you have in dev Azure Data Factory to different data factory using release mechanism. For example, you can move your dev data factory into staging or SIT or testing or pre-prod or prod environments. So this way you can deploy your Azure Data Factory. So here is a life cycles. So in this life cycle, you can see that I have a 4 Azure Data Factory, Dev Data Factory, and Test, QA, and Prod one. So only my Dev Data Factory is connected with my collaboration branch or a main branch or a master branch. And so if I want to do some new changes, then I need to create a feature branch. So once I happy with my changes, I will create a pull request. And once my pull request is approved, then my code goes from feature branch to my main branch. And then I need to come into Dev Azure Data Factory and I need to click on publish button manually. Then my code it will generate ARM templates, and it plays that ARM template into automatically created branch, which is ADF underscore publish branch. So here it will generate ARM templates, and then my build pipeline run, and build pipeline will generate build artifacts. And these build artifacts use in a release pipeline. And release pipeline will deploy, it's a few clicks away, it will deploy all code into different staging environment. In dev environment or test environment or QA or prod or pre-prod or UAT, whichever you have. So this is a Azure Data Factory ADF life cycle of CI/CD. So let's move into now demo. So it's still executing it, but here you can see that my first pipeline, it's loading the data, and you can see it by just here. The for each loop has a one count. Metadata activity has this file name, which I'm passing to for each loop, and my for each loop has done one copy activity execution, and it stored file from blob storage to data lake gen 2. And my let's go to here, and this one is still executing, but we can still see it what is doing it. So for that you can go here by just clicking output arrow. You can see here it's still executing it, but you can see what it's doing here. It seems it has done almost done now. So here you can see that this thing has written 3 rows and this thing has written 2 rows. So let's go to here. So it has done now. So let's go to ETL pipeline. Let's little bit so it's successfully done everything. So now it has a copy data from blob storage to data lake gen 2, and then it applied transformation, and then it stored data to Azure SQL Server. So if you want to see quickly here, so let's go to I think it's this one. This is my data lake gen storage account, and you can just refresh it, so you can see this time. So my file has moved into here, and you can see the timestamp as well. There are two file mode here, and this is the latest timestamp. So here you can see that data is in a here they have all data, and now you can see that it has a address 1 to address 3 as well, and you can see it has a individual value as well, line number 1, address number 1, or like that. So that is a one transformation, and here you can see that this is another one, and here you can see that it has a less row because I have a aggregation function here. So I'm just so interested in year, move year, and average rating on that year. And this information I'm inserting it in a Azure SQL database. So if you refresh this, and if you select this one, you can see here ratings and a year through my pipelines. So that is the end of a demo. So now let's move into slide back, and let's see what left. So with that, I would like to thank you for attending this event, and thank you for organizer of Dataverse, and thank you all. And I also would like to thank you, Ben and Benjamin and Ben Ketter, who helping me on this demo. And here is my information, and with that I am open now for questions. So yeah.
That was great. That was a great session. And I enjoyed the demos, and
Thank you.
very well done. There are currently no questions in the chat. If people are currently typing, you're welcome to type them into the chat, or if you want to come off mute and ask, that is also acceptable. Just a thank you so far.
Yeah, great session. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me, while we're collecting questions, let me repost the link for the feedback. If you do have a couple of minutes, it is greatly appreciated if you can leave some feedback both for the speaker and for the event as a whole. I think Ben also shared your GitHub repo with the ability to deploy those demos straight to Azure, which is super cool.
Yeah.
It's a great way of sharing your demos. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I also like that. Yeah.
Really clever.
Yeah. So if anyone have a question now, or even if later on, then they can contact me via my LinkedIn, so I can reply them soon as possible. Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. People will probably think of them 10 minutes after the end of the session.